All right, so now let's talk about the surfaces, right? So we created just kind of a wireframe of what our surface could be, and you've been taught already how to create um, 3 and 4 point surfaces, how to rotate and split surfaces, and technically, if you wanted to, you could have actually made a surface and then split it and actually literally folded it up. So the difference here is that if I took a 100 by 100, actually I'll show you. So, oh, that didn't work. Go. Let's see, 0, 0. Second corner here, there, and there. So if I take a surface like this and I draw a line from here to there, and right now I'm just talking, so please don't follow along. And I split it, and I grab this surface, and I split it by this line and that line. And if I literally fold it up, I can grab these, not rotate, well, I can do rotate 3D. Go here to here, go that, and go along, let me turn project off, along that axis. Then it's going to fall short if I keep my 25-foot segments. Sorry, I just want to show you here. There. So what happens is, because, obviously your length is going to stay the same, it falls short of the full extent of the landscape. So that's kind of why I just thought that this might actually be a better option, because you're literally just pushing it vertically, and it elongates that center section in order to fit. So you could very easily just come in here and say, I'm going to draw this plane from here to there to there to there, and then this one from here to there to there to there, and then another one from here to there and there and there. That would work perfectly fine, but I want to give you other options as well. So one of the easiest ways, I think, to create a surface across two lines, just connect them with what's called a loft. And this is going to get more, I'm showing you something that's going to be really important when you have lines that are skewed. But the command loft, which you should get used to using, it says select curves to loft. So these curves, you can really just do 1 and 2 and hit enter. Oh, look at that. Twisted it for me. Why did it twist it? Let's try it. Camera up. Loft, select this curve and that curve and hit enter, and it creates a connection between the two. So don't worry about the settings. The settings are very, very particular to certain instances. Just do all your default settings and hit OK. So similarly, you can go to plane, and let me remember where this is. Edge curves. I'm not sure if this needs all 4 edge curves. There's one that doesn't need all 4 edge curves, and I always lose it in this menu. But let's try edge curves, and I'm going to go from there and hit enter. Didn't work. All right, so we'll just do 4 points for those. I got to find that one. It's around there somewhere. So 4 points and then 4 points. All right, so this is what you should have. The other thing that I want to show you is that you can offset each individual surface by themselves, or you can offset them together in order to create thickness. So you're aware of offset surface. We used it on a cube. But let's do it real quick to these individual planes. Yes?
I make it kind of like polyline from that line and make a block.
Absolutely, you can. Yeah, you could do a polyline too.
It's going to give us the one plane. So which we need? We need 3 plane or we need 1 plane?
Well, actually that's a very good question, and perhaps
Make it is kind of like one plane.
yeah, I could show that method as well. So we'll do it this way. Rather than physically joining them, I'll show you the other method of creating these planes, which will make them as one. So thank you. Basically, if you were to go into this view and you knew the sizes that you needed, but right now I'm just going to trace. Okay, so I activate the polyline command and I go into my front view with project on. I can draw a line from this point to that point to this point to that point. It happens to live right here. Let me put it on a layer so that you can see it. Curve, okay, and I'm going to slide it off to the side. So this is the same profile. If you happen to already know the profile without going through the push method, that's fine too. But this is what's going to happen. You can extrude curve. So I select it and I say extrude. You should probably do it in the front view. Extrude curve. And it'll say extrusion distance. Well, now I can kind of just come back to the other side of this one, or you could type in 100 feet, either way. And it's going to create another surface. I don't have the right layer on. So this is what you're going to get. One continuous surface that is joined. So I think if I'm going to show you both of these options, I would like you to have both of them at your disposal so that we can work on both together and you'll learn. So let's do that. I want to walk around and just make sure you all have both types of these folded surfaces, and then we'll move forward. What questions do you have? Okay. All right, so what we're trying to get at is to look at what the difference is in your workflow to use an assembled form versus an extruded form, essentially. So the assembled form will give you certain conditions that you can't necessarily get with the extruded form. And so my objective here is to create thickness. Like this is either concrete slab or some kind of structural condition or deck or wall that has mass and thickness. Much like you see in the foam core models there, how the foam core itself actually has thickness, we're emulating that. So let's start with the separate one. So if I do offset surface, if I could spell it right, what I have to do is select the surfaces that I want to offset and hit enter and look at what it does. So from the side you see that it has an opposite direction for my offset on each of the surfaces, but if I go to flip all, then they're still opposite to one another. They don't go the way that I want it to. So I have to do an offset surface individually for each one. So what I would do is start the offset surface command. I'll select the bottom one and the top one, and now they're both going down. So here I can say that I want them to go a half a foot, and then they go down a half a foot, or 6 inches. In this case, actually, I'll make it a foot because it's a little bit more clear. So offset surface, 1 foot, enter. Okay, so this is a little bit closer to an actual construction condition because this form, whatever it is going to be some other material rather than concrete that would connect from one slab to another. Unless you're doing like a drainage channel, for example, it's just a monolithic pour of concrete. Now let's jump over real quick to this one. If you want a monolithic pour look to a continuous surface, you would use this method because then when you do your offset surface, whoops, offset surface from here, 1 foot, we'll hit enter. They're going the wrong direction, so I'll say flip all. And now what it does is it actually connects those two surfaces together. It looks like I had my corners set to round, which I don't want, so I'm going to Control Z real quick, activate the command again, turn my corners to sharp, flip it out, hit enter, and now this is what it does. It creates a smooth connection from a slab here to a 1 foot thick slab on the diagonal to a 1 foot thick slab on the horizontal again. Okay, so this is actually very significant for the assignment that we're going to be moving through. We have very, very complex folded plane conditions that are coming up in the near future. So in some cases, we're actually going to have to take a secondary surface like this, offset surface, and maybe it goes back, and we'll have to figure out how do we rectify the gap in the surface here or the overlap in the surface here. So that's what we're heading toward in the next part of this assignment. So you should have two fully developed surfaces like this. You don't necessarily have to have the offset surface here in the center portion for that one. In fact, I would like you not to have that before we move on to the next part of the assignment. What questions do you have?
How much did you offset it by?
I just did a foot so that you could see it pretty clearly.
It was half a foot.
I started with a half a foot. I went back to a foot. You could leave it at a half a foot too. It's not critical. All right. So let me just kind of swing around, make sure everybody's here before we move on. Oh, not that.